So you're a teen and you dream of becoming a millionaire. Maybe you dream of the fancy vacations, the 5-star hotels, the yacht trips and the supercars. If we haven't met before, my name is Fred, and just a couple years ago my life was a complete mess. I was broke, depressed, anxious, I was weak, and I had terrible social skills. Now fast forward to today, after lots of hard work, lots of persistence, lots of sacrifices, this is the kind of life I've been able to build for myself. So needless to say, I know what it takes to build the greatest possible life. And that's exactly why my goal in this video is to share with you 9 principles that will make you a millionaire. If you apply this advice, you are pretty much guaranteed to become a millionaire yourself at some point. Now keep in mind, everything I'm going to share with you in just a second directly comes from my own experience. And these lessons I'm going to reveal in just a second have all allowed me to get to where I am today, so I can attest to their efficacy. Principle 1. Extend the timeline. Honestly, it really saddens me to see so many young people, especially young men, starting an online business. They're hungry, they want more out of life, they're ready to crush their goals, yet they quit. The reason being, they didn't make their first $10,000 a month within 3 months of starting their business. The simple truth is, they have unrealistic expectations. Yes, it might happen, but don't beat yourself up if you don't get to 10k per month within your first 3 months. Are you really going to be pissed if it takes you 12 months to get to 10k per month? Of course not, it's a massive achievement. I mean, just look around you in the real world. Only 1% of the population earns $10,000 per month or 6 figures a year. So if you achieve that, and especially if you're in your 20s, in your 30s, you have achieved something massive, something that most people will never even achieve. And for most people, if they want to achieve that, following the traditional route, it takes them decades of slave-like hours, of slowly climbing the corporate ladder. So as a beginner, let's say you manage to get to $3,000 per month after 12 months of extremely hard work. A lot of beginners would think they're a complete failure because they see those multi-millionaires on the internet flexing their private jets and they think that in comparison, they're worth nothing. But in the real world, if you just look around you, you'll realize compared to 99% of the population, you are a massive success. Now what if your goal is to live a top 0.1% life? What if your goal is the yachts, the private jets, the 5-star resorts, the supermodels? By all means, if this is what you want, it can be achieved. However, you need to be more realistic about the timeline. Chances are, if you think it's gonna take 1 year to achieve, make it 2, make it 5. In business, you've got to be willing to go the extra mile, to work harder than anyone else. So if you extend the timeline, you prepare your mind to all possible scenarios. Because if you expect, oh, I'm gonna become a multi-millionaire in just 1 year, and then it's been a year, you only have made $10,000, let's say. In comparison to making $1 million, it will feel like it's horrible, like it's nothing, when in reality it's a massive feat. And that's why you can be on the right track, yet you'll quit, because you simply have the wrong expectations. In business, oftentimes, growth is exponential, not linear. So during the first year, during the first 2 years, you might barely see any results, but then you start to get massive results. It's kind of like on social media, and especially on YouTube. You need to at some point blow up, but when you do, your life will never be the same ever again. But the people who quit, guess what? They never get to that level. And at the end of the day, you've got to realize that everyone's journey is different. Some people might be able to get to $10,000 per month in profit in just 3 months, while for some other people it might take 14 months. But so what? What's your other option? There is no better option. And like I said, I've never seen someone work extremely hard, try their hardest, and after 2 years, they haven't made a single cent. Principle number 2. Saving money will keep you poor. Online, you're gonna hear some clowns telling you that the reason why you're poor is because you spend $5 a day on a Starbucks coffee. And according to those same people, if you instead save that money and invest it in the stock market, in 60 years, you could retire with $1 million or 2 in the bank. But what these same so-called financial experts don't tell you is that saving money is a stupid financial decision. Now don't get me wrong, you should always have 6 to 12 months of paid expenses in advance in another bank account. That way, if anything happens, it gives you enough time to get back on your feet. However, saving money just for the sake of saving money is utterly pointless, because that money is not going to multiply by itself. If you wanted to buy a $300,000 car and you managed to save $3,000 per year, which is very difficult and most people can't even manage to do that, guess what? If we do the simple math, it would take you 100 years to be able to afford that car. So it's safe to assume you'll never get it. So now do you see just how flawed this way of thinking is? And even if you did invest that money in the stock market, the truth is that it would have zero impact on the quality of your life on a daily basis. Because if you were to invest $100 a month in the stock market, you'd need to wait 60 years to start having decent money in your bank account. Not to mention that on top of all of that, you'll need to pay taxes again. The reason why billionaires have so much money, it's not because they spend all of their lives penny pinching. It's because they helped a lot of people solve painful problems. homes. But we'll come back to that in just a second. But the bottom line is this: with inflation year after year, the money that you save up, it only decreases in value. And the only real way to counteract the effects of inflation is to make more money or to invest in assets. But for most people, they don't have $100,000, $1 million to invest in real estate, in the stock market, or in other type of investments. So instead, your only real option is to make more money. Principle 3. Life will test your resolve constantly. The truth is, life, events and people will test you every step of the way. It's like life is trying to see if you really want that thing, if you're committed to getting it. And only if you pass the test successfully will you finally have it. Sometimes it might look like nothing is going your way, but oftentimes if you look deeper, you'll see it's an opportunity to prove yourself. Let's say you're reaching out to potential customers every single day. You don't sign a single customer. What should you do? Should you quit? You feel hopeless. It feels like nothing is ever gonna change. But let me ask you a question. What's your other option? Looking back, I've had many times in my life where I just had to persevere. I felt hopeless. I didn't believe things would work out. And yet because I pushed past that doubt, past those fears, I made it happen. And it's a never-ending process. Life, events, and people will always test you. So you've got to be ready for this no matter what. Every time you seek to go to a higher level, you will be tested. No one can escape it. Principle 4. Wins and losses come in clusters. Oftentimes what I've noticed is that when you're winning at life, you keep winning more and more. Winning just seems to be effortless. The victories keep piling on top of each other. But the opposite also seems to be true. When things are not going your way, it seems like more and more negative stuff is happening. So you feel like you're just stuck in this run of bad luck. And that's typically why a lot of people might oftentimes feel like there's just this dark force holding them back, like something is just toying with them. Now typically we can see this happen a lot in sales. Salesmen are known to constantly go down this roller coaster of emotions. One day they're gonna sign customers back to back. They'll get the juicy paychecks. They'll feel like they're on top of the world. They can do anything. They can conquer the world. But then the next day, everyone says no to them. Not a single lead accepts the offer. So now they feel horrible. What happened? The thing is, numbers are not equally distributed in a dataset. What I mean by this is that if you have, let's say, a 20% closing rate and you speak to 100 people, 20 people should buy. But what might happen is that first you speak to 80 people and they all say no. Most people, what would they do? They would quit. But the person who decides to keep pushing anyway, even if he's feeling hopeless, guess what? 20 people back to back will say yes, because that is how numbers work. They're not evenly distributed. And that's why truly anything can change at the last second. You can start off in life with terrible circumstances, but if you play your cards right, you can go so far. Principle number 5. You will never achieve success as you are currently. To become successful, I had to evolve myself into a much better version of myself. If I can guarantee one thing, it's that if I stayed as I was back then, I would have never been able to reach my goals, to build a muscular physique, a profitable onend business, to have a loving and fulfilling relationship. None of that would have ever been possible, because to get to the next level in life, to achieve something new, guess what? You'll need to become a new version of yourself. If you're overweight, you typically have habits, ways of thinking, behaviors that don't actually serve you. So if you wanted to be fit, you'd need to change all of that. And let's say you manage to go through that transformation. You become very fit. Now you exercise regularly a couple times a week, you eat very healthy, you sleep properly. So least to say you've changed a lot. And sometimes what might happen is that you look back and you think, how could I be like this before? Like it's insane. When I look at who I was before, I can't even believe it. I can't even believe being that socially anxious, being that miserable, having so many vices, addictions. Back then, I couldn't work 8 hours a day. It was impossible for me. And nowadays, it's what I do, even on the weekends. It's just crazy to me how you can change, how your life can be completely transformed in just a few years of focused hard work. Principle number 6, you will lose friends along the way. I know that this might be difficult to hear, but as you work hard, as you strive to become a better version of yourself every single day, you make the necessary sacrifices, you get out of your comfort zone. The truth is, you will very likely lose some people along the way. From my own experience, and from what I've seen, people can typically have one of the two following reactions when they start to see you becoming more and more successful, when your hard work finally pays off. They can either be inspired by it, admire what you've done, and strive to become better themselves. That's what I love to see. I always want to encourage people to do better. But some people, let's be honest, they look at you, they'll see you improving, leveling up, making more money, getting in better shape, finding the love of your life maybe. They're gonna look at that, and instead of being inspired, instead of doing better, they'll be jealous, bitter, resentful. It will force them to see their own failures, and a lot of people, they're not ready for that. So instead of bettering themselves, which takes a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, they will try to do anything they can to drag you down. And the worst part about it, they'll try to make you feel guilty for improving yourself. Those people are anchors. they're dragging you down, and you need to cut them loose. It's true that typically you're gonna see your real friends when you're going through tough times, but what is also true is that you can tell if someone is really your friend by their reaction to your success. I'll be honest with you, that is how I lost my closest friend not too long ago. I got better, I leveled up, I worked insanely hard, and instead of becoming better himself, I tried to push him out of his comfort zone. I tried to push him to do better. It wasn't enough. The sad truth is this: you can't make everyone climb to the top with you. Some people just aren't meant for it. So you have to understand that when you want to go to the next level in life, you will lose people, you will lose habits, you'll lose behaviors, but that is how the game is played. Sacrifices will always need to be made to move forward, no matter what you're trying to accomplish. Principle 7. Money derives from value. Let me ask you a question. Why is a brain surgeon paid 1,000 times more than your average Burger King employee? The answer might seem obvious to you. It's because the skills and the value that is provided by the brain surgeon to society is far greater than those of a regular fast food employee. I think that goes without saying. It's funny because a lot of people, they dream of the supercars, of the supermodels, of the top 1% lifestyle, but they never just take the time to sit down and understand how money actually works. They want more of it, but they don't know how it works. You need to understand this one fundamental rule. Money always derives from value. Naturally, what this means is that the more value you provide to other people, the more money you'll make. If you take a look at the wealthiest people on the planet, you will notice this common trend amongst all of them. They all helped humanity in some massive way. They provided a lot of value. They had a positive impact on the lives of millions and even billions of people. And so naturally, they got handsomely rewarded for it. That's why someone who spends all day in their dirty room playing video games, eating Doritos, they're broke. So to make more money, you need to become a more valuable member of society, bring more value to people. And the best way to do that is to solve problems for people. The more painful the problem, the better. Now, technically speaking, you could start by fixing people's broken computers, mowing people's lawn. You're still fixing a problem, a need. You're bringing value to someone else, in exchange you get paid. Or let's say that you went through a difficult period in your marriage and now you were able to repair it and restore love in your relationship. You could teach a lot of couples how to do that. They would be willing to pay you a lot of money for that. Principle number 8. Your ticket to freedom and wealth is to start an online business. The arrival of the internet has changed the game forever. Back then, if you came from a low-income or middle-class background, becoming wealthy was almost impossible. You would have needed to get extremely lucky in the process. So least to say that for most people, it was simply a foolish dream, but they would never actually achieve it. Even just a few decades ago, if you wanted to start your own business, you would have needed to come up with at least hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Or your other best option to get wealthy at the time, it was to find a way to get a job in one of the best companies in a booming industry and to slowly climb the corporate ladder for years, all of your life in reality, and to learn a lot of valuable work lessons along the way. You'd put in slave-like hours and your goal was to become the next CEO. Or if you were bold enough and you saved up enough money all of your life, if you had the right investors, you could open up a competing business using all of the skills and work experience that you've learned throughout your life. But again, it was a very difficult path. Most people failed. Nowadays, you need to realize, as we are speaking, some 16-year-olds are making more money in a month than what doctors make in a year. And it's not because they invented the next Facebook or did something which has never been done before. They simply followed the right blueprint. Starting a service-based business is exactly what has allowed me to build this kind of life for myself. If instead I had decided to do like everyone else, to go to university, to study for a mediocre job, I would have ended up just like everyone else. That kind of life would have never been possible. Now that's why I've recorded a free guide in which I analyze every popular online business model. Together we take a look at the pros, at the cons, and I'm also going to share with you for completely free the 3-step process that you can use to get your first customers starting today. It's the first link in the description below. Principle number 9. Don't blow all your money on stupid stuff. I can't even tell you how many successful entrepreneurs I've seen, and this applies especially to young men. They get a little success and then they blow it all on stupid stuff. Like they got to their first $10,000 per month, but they decide it's time to buy a Rolex, to rent a supercar. They go to the club, they ask for the most expensive alcohol, also that they can look more successful than they are, all for social status. Now you can have these things if you want them. I'm not saying that you shouldn't enjoy the fruit of your labor, but there is a time and place for everything. Because if you fall for the trap of what most financial experts call lifestyle creep, meaning you spend more money as you start to make more money, you will never actually become wealthy or free. You will always be a slave to your business because you'll always need the money every single month to afford that lifestyle, because instead you won't reinvest in the business. When you make $10,000 per month with your business and you spend $10,000 a month on lifestyle, you are in a lot of trouble. Now if you make $100,000 a month, you spend 10k per month for yourself to have a crazy lifestyle, you can do that. But the thing is, a lot of people, they get a little success and then they get complacent. But what they fail to understand is that rent is due every day. The moment you take your success for granted, you start to rest on your laurels, is the moment you sign your downfall. Because I can tell you for a fact that while you act like an idiot, while you spend thousands of dollars every single night at the club to impress other people, while you buy Rolexes to flex, instead of reinvesting that that money to grow your business even further. Another guy is hungry as hell and he won't go to the club, he won't get drunk and have a massive hangover that's gonna last a couple days. He won't go and buy the Rolex. No, you see, he's aiming much higher than that. He's aiming for true freedom, true abundance. Guess what? That guy is your competition and he's going to destroy you. So are you gonna just sit there and take it? Any self-respecting man would not. So if you apply these 9 principles, I have no doubt you'll be able to become a millionaire. With that said, as always, what are you waiting for? It's time to get to work.